As I get more and more into cameras, the more I want my cameras to be lightweight and compact. Now, Sony's improved on one of my favorite lenses, and I think they've hit it out of the park with the Sony 16-35 G Master 2 edition. The number one reason why I like this lens so much more than I did the Mark 1 version is because it's 20% lighter. It's also smaller too. I have the original 16-35 right here, and as you can see, size-wise, the Mark 2 is definitely smaller than the Mark 1. Even fully extended, look at how much shorter the Mark 2 is compared to the Mark 1. Now, one of the biggest downsides to the construction that I would have loved to have seen in the Mark 2 is for an all-internal zoom. I would have been okay if the lens would have been the same length as the Mark 1, if it would have been an all-internal zoom. Then everything stays perfectly balanced on a gimbal. Plus, there's less chance dust to get inside here. These things are dust and moisture resistant, but there's still a possibility that something could get in here and kind of clog this thing up. Now, I also like that they included an aperture ring that is lockable. It's also clickable and declickable. Now, the lock switch, if you keep this thing in auto, like I normally do, I don't normally use the aperture ring, but I'll explain why you might want that. Once it's locked, it's not going anywhere. So no chance of accidentally knocking this thing into f/22. Now, I normally have this thing locked off into auto. Now, if you're a videographer or somebody who's doing a lot of run and gun, you may want an aperture that you can adjust. So this way, when the light changes, you're able to change the aperture. Now, it also has two programmable buttons on it. It also has an autofocus, manual focus switch, and it has a nice focus ring, which is smooth. We'll just call it smooth. I mean, it's a focus ring. Like, is that why you're buying a lens? For the focus ring? I don't know. Now, it does have an 82mm filter thread on it. It also has a rubber gasket here on the back to help prevent dust and moisture from getting in there. It doesn't eliminate all dust and moisture, but it definitely helps. The thing I love the most about the 16-35 is the 16 is super wide for vlogging and for wide establishing shots, and the 35 brings it in nice and tight. I don't usually shoot a whole lot tighter than a 35 when I'm shooting humans. People. And with the Sony a7S III, you're going to throw on active stave, which is going to crop in your footage about 1.1 times or 10%. And that's going to make this lens a 17 to about a 38mm focal length. Still, 17 super wide and 38 is just right when you're trying to get those nice close shots. It gives you the other nice focal length, which is a 24mm, which is what I'm shooting at right now, which a lot of people find 24 to 35 to be very flattering on the faces. So seeing how we don't have an internal zoom, one of the things that I would have loved to have happened is right now it's compact at 35. When you zoom it, it extends to 16. I wish it was the opposite. I wish 16 would have been totally in, and then when you extend it, it would go to 35. I'm not an engineer. I don't know how that's possible or the way it works. It would have been nice to be able to do that if you can't get internal zoom. Now, the other nice thing that I really love about this new Mark II version is the image quality, in my opinion, is better. It's got better saturation, better contrast, and I just think the image just looks a little bit crispier. I mean, when you look at the Mark 1 version, this lens came out in, I think, 2016. It was still a great lens, and it still is a great lens. But this Mark II definitely improves with different coatings, better coatings that give you better saturation, better contrast, and basically give you a better image. Now, if you have one of the new Sony cameras, like the a7 IV or the a7R5, you will benefit from breathing compensation. Now, the Mark 1 would do the same thing, but at the end of the day, the Mark II does give you a lot better breathing compensation on those new cameras. And maybe someday, dare I dream, maybe in March, the Sony a7S III will also have breathing compensation. Maybe. Firmware update. I heard it's coming. Maybe. And I do think the Mark II does do a better job with the active stave of eliminating those micro jitters. Now, there's no lens stave in this lens. Now, the weight has come down about 20% on this lens, so it's down to 1.2 pounds, 547 grams. Very nice. So I like to hold the lens and put fingers underneath the camera while I'm vlogging. This gives me a nice firm grip on it. It's not too small, not too big, perfect size for vlogging. Now, the f2.8 is going to be good in low light. Not great, but good in low light. And if you have the Sony a7S III or the FX3. Now, the low light performance is going to be good enough where you probably don't need to carry a super fast prime lens when you're out doing low light videography. I would highly recommend this lens if you are looking to get the best premium image quality that you can possibly get out of your Sony camera today. If you're looking for that ultra wide zoom lens, 16-35 is really a sweet spot for a lot of videographers. If you already have the Mark 1, should you upgrade? My answer is probably not. If you're happy with the lens, then you're good with the lens. But if you don't have either one of of these lenses, I would definitely say save up, spend the extra money, get yourself the Mark II. Why? It's lighter, it's got better image quality, better saturation, better contrast, and overall, I just think you're getting better tech here. Now, if you're interested in picking up either one of these lenses, I'll go ahead and I'll put affiliate links down in the top of the description. Feel free to use those links. I do appreciate it. It does help support my channel. And if you want to learn more about the Mark I, I'll put that up on the screen right now. It's been great talking to you. See you in the next one. Bye.